There is something you must understand about a woman who is unafraid to be alone. The world will call her strange. Some will call her proud. Will call her difficult. But the truth is she is dangerous. Not dangerous in the sense of destruction, but dangerous in the sense of strength. Dangerous because she has learned that her value is not attached to applause, her joy is not chained to attention, and her peace is not purchased with company. A woman who spends time alone discovers herself. She sits in the silence, and in that silence, she hears her own voice, her own heartbeat, own divine instructions. While others are distracted by noise, she is being sharpened in stillness. While others are drained by the crowd, she is recharged in her solitude. Such a woman cannot be easily manipulated. She is not desperate for validation. She is not starving for affection. She is not selling her soul for attention. She has tasted fulfillment that comes from within. And once you've tasted that kind of fullness, you refuse to bow to emptiness. Her solitude has become her strength. In those quiet hours, she wrestles with her pain. She heals her wounds. She dreams her dreams, and she rises stronger than before. She becomes a builder of her own vision, a protector of her own spirit, a woman of unshakable foundation. So yes, the world is right. She is dangerous because she is no longer moved by pressure, no longer weakened by loneliness, no longer fooled by the shallow. She has learned to love herself. And a woman who has learned to love herself is unstoppable. There is a hidden power that many overlook, a treasure buried beneath silence, a gift wrapped inside solitude. And when you learn to embrace it, you become someone that no storm can easily shake, no voice can easily sway, and no weight can easily crush. That treasure is inner strength. It is built in the sacred space of solitude. See, the world will often tell you that strength comes from crowds, from alliances, from the approval of others, from having someone by your side at all times. But let me tell you, true strength does not come from the noise of the crowd. True strength is forged in the quiet. It is in those moments when you are all by yourself, when there is no one left to clap for you, no one left to cheer for you, no one left to lift you up. That is where strength is built. A woman who has learned to be alone is not a weak woman. No, she is a dangerous woman. Because in her solitude, she discovers parts of herself that the busy world can never show her. She hears her own heartbeat. She hears her own thoughts. She learns what she truly desires, what she truly needs, and what she will never again tolerate. You see, solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is the ache of emptiness, but solitude is the gift of fullness. Loneliness cries out, I am missing something. But solitude declares, I already have everything I need. Loneliness drains you, but solitude refills you. And when you lean into solitude, you discover the fountain within yourself that never runs dry. Let me tell you something. Every strong woman you admire, every leader who stands tall, every survivor who refused to be broken had to pass through the wilderness of solitude. They had to learn to fight battles that no one else could see. They had to cry tears that no one else could wipe. They had to carry weights that no one else could lift. And in those moments, they discovered an inner strength they never knew they had. Strength is not born in comfort. It is not born in the crowd. Strength is born in the struggle. Strength is born in the silence. Strength is born in the seasons when you have to rely on nothing but your own resilience and your own faith. When a woman embraces solitude, she is no longer dependent on empty compliments. She is no longer manipulated by shallow promises. She no longer waits for someone to tell her she is enough. She knows she is enough because she has proven it to herself in the solitude of her own journey. Think about it. When you are surrounded by people, it is easy to lose yourself in the noise. It is easy to shape yourself into what others expect. It is easy to get lost in pleasing, performing, and pretending. But when you are alone, you are stripped of performance. You are stripped of pretenses. You are left face to face with your own soul, and in that mirror, you find truth. Solitude builds strength because it forces you to confront the questions you've been avoiding. It makes you deal with the wounds you've been covering. It makes you wrestle with the fears you've been hiding. And once you've confronted those demons and stood tall, no critic, no rejection, no abandonment can break you again. Some people fear solitude because they cannot handle their own reflection. They run from silence because silence exposes what noise covers up. But the woman who has walked through silence and made peace with herself, she is unshakable. She is dangerous because she does not need the crowd to tell her she is valuable. She already knows. A woman who has built her strength in solitude carries herself differently. She walks into a room, not begging for attention, but radiating an aura of wholeness. She speaks, not because she needs to be heard, but because she has something worth saying. She loves, not because she is desperate for love, but because she overflows with love. That is the fruit of solitude. It turns you from needy to overflowing, from dependent to independent, from fragile to unbreakable. But let me go deeper. Solitude doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you wiser. It is in the quiet that visions are born. It is in the stillness that dreams are planted. It is in the isolation that ideas are refined. Crowds distract, but solitude directs. Noise confuses, solitude clarifies. If you want to hear your inner voice, if you want to discern divine instruction, if you want to truly understand your next step, you must learn to embrace solitude. Strength built in solitude is not temporary, it is eternal. See, muscles built on applause fade when the applause stops. Confidence built on attention collapses when attention shifts. But strength built in solitude, that kind of strength lasts because it was forged in fire. It was tested in silence. It was proven in the dark before it was ever seen in the light. And here is the truth. People fear a strong woman who has learned to thrive in solitude. They fear her because she cannot be bought with flattery. She cannot be controlled with threats. She cannot be moved by rejection. She cannot be enslaved by loneliness. She has already conquered those battles in the quiet of her solitude. If you are in a season of solitude right now, don't despise it. Don't rush through it. Don't see it as punishment. See it as preparation. Because solitude is not the absence of people, it is the presence of strength. It is the gym where your inner muscles are trained. It is the forge where your steel is sharpened. It is the classroom where wisdom whispers and strength is born. The world may never understand a woman who embraces solitude. They will call her intimidating. They will call her too much. They will call her dangerous. Dangerous is exactly what she is. Dangerous to lies, dangerous to manipulation, dangerous to insecurity, dangerous to everything that once tried to keep her small. There's nothing more dangerous, nothing more powerful, nothing more unstoppable than a woman who cannot be manipulated. For too long, the world has thrived on pulling strings. Too long, people have tried to twist emotions, play games, and exploit vulnerabilities. But when a woman steps into her true identity, when she learns her worth, when she no longer bows to the pressure of approval, something breaks. She becomes free, free from manipulation, free from control, free from every chain that once tied her to the opinions of others. See, manipulation is subtle. It doesn't always come dressed as an enemy. Sometimes it comes smiling. Sometimes it comes in the form of flattery. Sometimes it comes through guilt trips, silent treatment, or false promises. Manipulation says, if you don't do this, you'll lose me. Manipulation whispers, without me, you're nothing. Manipulation tries to use your fears against you, your desires against you, your compassion against you. When a woman grows strong enough to discern the game, she becomes immune to it. You cannot manipulate a woman who knows her value. You cannot control a woman who has learned how to stand on her own 2 feet. You cannot trick a woman who has made peace with solitude because she no longer fears being alone. That's the secret. Fear is what gives manipulators power. The fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the fear of being unloved. But once those fears die, once a woman has looked in the mirror and declared, I am enough, even if I walk alone, then the chains of manipulation fall powerless at her feet. This kind of woman is dangerous to the ones who once played with her emotions, because the tools they use no longer work. They cannot shame her into silence because she has embraced her voice. They cannot guilt her into submission because she has learned boundaries. They cannot scare her with loneliness because she has found joy in her own company. She has risen above the hooks they once used to keep her small. Let me tell you something. When a woman is free from manipulation, She carries herself differently. She no longer reacts out of desperation. She no longer gives just to be noticed. She no longer serves from a place of emptiness. Instead, she operates from fullness. Her yes is strong, and her no is unshakable. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't waver because she knows her decisions are rooted in truth, not in fear. And the ones who once tried to control her, they will call her rebellious. They will call her difficult. They will call her too proud. But the truth is, she is free. They don't recognize her anymore because the version they controlled has died. She has been reborn. Now she cannot be owned by anyone's manipulation. Think about it. Manipulation thrives in weakness, but dies in strength. It feeds on insecurity, starves in self-love. It succeeds where there is blindness, but fails where there is clarity. That's why the journey to freedom from manipulation begins with healing. When a woman heals her wounds, she no longer seeks bandages from toxic hands. When she learns her identity, she no longer begs for labels from others. When she discovers her purpose, she no longer allows distractions to detour her. Let me go deeper. Many times manipulation works because the manipulator studies your patterns. They know what button to push. They know what words will sting. They know what fears will freeze you. But when a woman grows, when she becomes self-aware, when she recognizes those patterns and rises above them, old buttons don't work anymore. They press, but nothing moves. They push, but nothing falls. That is freedom. It's not that people stop trying to manipulate her. It's that they no longer succeed. Their power is gone because she has taken her power back. Power comes from within, from knowing, I do not need your approval. I do not need your applause. I do not need your validation to breathe, to rise, to thrive. This kind of freedom makes her fearless. Because if you cannot be manipulated, you cannot be enslaved. If you cannot be manipulated, you cannot be silenced. And if you cannot be manipulated, you cannot be stopped. People can still talk, critics can still shout, but none of it reaches her core. None of it shakes her foundation. A woman is free from manipulation. She inspires others. Her life becomes a mirror, reflecting strength to those still trapped in toxic cycles. She teaches by example that it is possible to walk away from control, possible to live unapologetically, possible to stand boldly without compromise. Some may fear her, but many will be drawn to her light. Because freedom has a fragrance, strength has a sound, confidence has an aura. And when you encounter a woman who has broken free from manipulation, you cannot help but notice she is radiant, she is steady, she is untouchable. If you are in a place where you have been manipulated, understand this, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to remain tied to guilt, fear, or emotional games. The same freedom that others have found, you can find too. It begins the moment you decide, I will no longer live under someone else's control. I will no longer hand over my power, will no longer let fear dictate my choices. That decision is the seat of your strength. And let me warn you, when you begin to break free, the manipulators will intensify their tactics. They will try harder, push harder, guilt harder, but don't fold. Don't go back, because that resistance is proof that you're breaking their grip. And once you've fully broken free, you will never again bow to the chains that once held you. There comes a time in every woman's journey when the noise of the world grows too loud, when opinions bombard her from every direction, when voices demand her attention, her energy, her loyalty, her obedience. And yet, there is a sacred place she can step into, a place where all the noise dies down, a place where distractions dissolve, a place where she can finally hear what truly matters. That place is silence. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not a void to be feared. Silence is a teacher, and when a woman learns to sit in it, she gains wisdom that the noise could never give her. Most people run from silence. They drown it with music, with chatter, with scrolling, with distractions. Because silence feels intimidating. Silence holds up a mirror. Silence exposes wounds we try to cover, fears we try to bury, truths we try to ignore. But for the woman who dares to embrace it, silence becomes her mentor. Silence begins to whisper lessons that crowds could never teach. She learns that silence teaches discernment. In silence, she separates what is essential from what is shallow, what is real from what is fake, what is eternal from what is temporary. While others rush into decisions clouded by noise, she waits, she listens, she discerns. And when she finally moves, steps are steady because they are guided by wisdom born in silence. She learns that silence teaches self-control. It trains her to pause before she reacts, to breathe before she responds, to withhold her energy from arguments that do not deserve her fire. Silence teaches her that not every insult deserves an answer. Every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every provocation deserves her peace. In silence, she realizes that her strength is not proven by her volume, but by her restraint. She learns that silence teaches resilience. In the stillness, she has faced her demons, wrestled with her doubts, and survived her storms without an audience. The quiet classroom of silence toughens her, molds her, and strengthens her. So when storms roar again, she is not shaken because silence has already trained her spirit to withstand pressure. She learns that silence teaches creativity. While the world is busy chasing trends, she is cultivating vision. While others echo the voices they hear, she is creating something fresh from the whispers of silence. Great ideas are not born in chaos. They are born in quiet moments where the mind is free to dream and imagine. Silence becomes the womb of innovation, birthing dreams too delicate to survive the noise. And perhaps most importantly, she learns that silence teaches her who she truly is. Without the chatter of opinions, without the noise of expectations, without the constant pull of society's demands, she discovers herself. She learns her voice, her desires, her convictions. She hears the echo of her soul reminding her that she is not just what others think, not just what others want, not just what others expect. She is whole, she is enough, she is powerful in her own right. Silence is not passive, it is powerful. It is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of clarity. It is not retreat, it is refinement. The woman who allows silence to teach her becomes unstoppable. People will misunderstand her silence. They will think she is weak when in reality, she is gathering strength. They will think she is confused when in truth she is gaining clarity. They will think she is disconnected when in reality she is deeply connected to herself. They cannot understand her silence because they have never sat still long enough to be taught by it. A woman trained by silence is not quick to panic. She is not easily manipulated. She is not driven by impulse. She moves with intention, speaks with precision, and acts with wisdom. And those around her feel it. Her presence carries weight, not because she shouts the loudest, because she has mastered the power of the quiet. Let me tell you something. Silence has saved more women than words ever did. Silence has kept them from battles not worth fighting. Silence has protected them from arguments that would have drained them. Silence has shielded them from traps designed to pull them down. Sometimes the most powerful thing a woman can do is remain quiet and let silence speak on her behalf. But silence does not only teach survival, it teaches elevation. Because in silence, she hears the whispers of her calling. She hears the quiet push keep going when her flesh wants to give up. She hears divine instruction that directs her steps, visions that shape her destiny, wisdom that equips her for the future. The noise cannot teach her that, but silence can. And here is the paradox. A woman who has been trained by silence eventually learns how to speak with power, because when she finally opens her mouth, her words are not wasted. They carry the weight of wisdom, the strength of restraint, the clarity of truth. People listen, not because she is loud, because her silence has already proven her depth. Yes, silence has become her teacher, and what it has taught her makes her dangerous. Dangerous to those who once tried to provoke her. Dangerous to manipulators who feed on reactions. Dangerous to distractions that thrive on noise. She cannot be pulled into every storm, cannot be baited into every battle, cannot be lured into every trap, because silence has taught her better. So let the world misunderstand her silence. Let them call it strange. Let them call it distance. Let them call it pride. She knows the truth. Silence has not made her empty. It has made her full. Silence has not made her weak, it has made her strong. Silence has not broken her spirit, it has built her wisdom. She has graduated from the school of silence. Now she walks with a strength that words cannot define. She does not need to prove herself. She does not need to shout her worth. She does not need to justify her path. Her silence speaks. Her silence protects. Her silence guides. Her silence elevates. And so while the world shouts and scrambles and competes for attention, she walks differently. She listens more than she talks. She observes more than she reacts. She pauses more than she rushes. And because of that, she is always a step ahead. Silence has taught her what the noise never could die, how to master herself, how to protect her peace, how to hear the whispers of destiny. And now nothing and no one can take that away from her. There is a kind of healing that no crowd can give you, no friend can hand you, no partner can complete for you. There is a kind of healing that happens only when you step away from the noise, when you walk into the quiet, you sit with your wounds and allow yourself to finally face them. That kind of healing happens in solitude. Most people run from solitude because they fear it will magnify their pain. They fear being alone with their thoughts, alone with their memories, alone with the wounds they have tried to bury under business, entertainment, and relationships. But here is the truth. What you refuse to face cannot be healed. What you constantly cover will never fully recover. Healing begins when you stop running and allow solitude to do its work. Solitude is not punishment, it is medicine. It is the space where the soul can breathe, where the heart can unclench, where the mind can quiet long enough to process. In solitude, the masks come off. In solitude, the pretending ends. In solitude, suppressed tears finally fall. And though it may sting, though it may feel raw, that is where healing begins. Because healing does not always come with noise. Healing does not always come with applause. Healing often comes in the whispers of silence, in the stillness of a quiet room, in the sacred space where you let yourself feel what you've been avoiding. A woman who dares to embrace solitude learns that pain loses its grip when it is faced head on. She learns that the scars she once hid are not signs of shame, symbols of survival. She learns that solitude is not her enemy, but her sanctuary. It is in solitude that she begins to gather the broken pieces of her soul and put them back together. When you are constantly surrounded by people, rarely give yourself permission to feel. You wear the smile. You play the role. You act like you are okay. But when the crowd disperses and you are left alone, the real emotions rise to the surface. And that is where the real work begins. In solitude, tears that never fell finally flow, washing away the toxins of heartbreak, betrayal, disappointment, and grief. In solitude, words you never said finally pour out, whether whispered in prayer, written on paper, or released into the quiet air. In solitude, you stop numbing and start noticing. You notice where it hurts. You notice what still triggers you. You notice what you need to let go of. And in that awareness, healing starts to bloom. Healing in solitude is slow, but it is sacred. It is not about rushing to feel better. It is about giving yourself permission to sit with the wound until it teaches you what you need to learn. Solitude teaches patience. It teaches acceptance. Teaches the art of letting go. And here is the paradox. Healing in solitude makes you stronger in community, because once you have faced your pain alone, no one can weaponize it against you. Once you have cried the tears in solitude, no one can shame you for them. Once you have wrestled with your demons in the dark, no one can scare you with them in the light. Healing in solitude makes you untouchable. Yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it is difficult. Yes, it feels lonely at first. But solitude is not loneliness. Loneliness is empty, but solitude is full of lessons, full of revelations, full of renewal. Solitude is not the absence of healing. It is the birthplace of it. Some of the deepest wounds are so personal, so private, that no one else can truly enter them with you. Friends can comfort you. Family can support you. Counselors can guide you. But the deepest healing work happens when you are alone with your thoughts, your faith, your soul, your God. It is in those secret moments that the broken heart mends, that the shattered trust rebuilds, that the weary spirit rises again. A woman who has healed in solitude is a different kind of woman. She no longer walks with the limp of bitterness. She no longer carries the baggage of resentment. She no longer bleeds on people who never cut her. She is lighter, freer, stronger. And when she steps back into the world, she does not carry her wounds like open sores. She carries her scars like trophies of survival. Healing in solitude also teaches forgiveness, not always of others first, but of yourself. In the quiet, she remembers the mistakes she made, the chances she missed, the times she settled for less. And instead of beating herself down again, she learns to extend grace to herself. She learns that growth is a process. She learns that survival is a victory. She learns that even in her brokenness, she was enough. The woman who heals in solitude becomes untouchable to manipulation because the same pain that once enslaved her has now empowered her. The same wound that once silenced her now fuels her. The same rejection that once destroyed her now refines her. She is healed, and therefore she is free. Do not misunderstand. Healing in solitude does not mean isolation forever. It means retreating long enough to mend, long enough to reflect, long enough to renew. It means learning how to be whole alone so that when you return to the world, you do not seek healing from places that can only wound you more. And once she has healed in solitude, she loves differently. She no longer clings out of desperation. She no longer begs for validation. She no longer tolerates what tears her spirit down. Because she has already done the work to love herself, to validate herself, to heal herself. Anyone who enters her life must now add to her peace, not subtract from it. So if you find yourself in solitude, don't curse it, embrace it. Don't fight it, flow with it. Don't numb it, use it. Solitude may feel heavy, but it is also holy. It may feel empty, but it is actually overflowing. It may feel lonely, but it is full of unseen healing power. Because when the noise fades, when the distractions disappear, when the masks fall away, healing happens. Healing that is deep, healing that is real, healing that no one can take away from you. Healing that equips you to walk back into the world stronger, wiser, freer than you've ever been. There is something extraordinary about a woman who finally chooses to love herself. For years, she may have poured herself out for everyone else. For years, she may have waited on validation, craved approval, begged for acceptance. For years, she may have been told she was too much or not enough. The moment she looks in the mirror and says with conviction, I am worthy, I am valuable, I am enough, that moment she becomes unstoppable. Self-love is not arrogance, it is not selfishness, it is not vanity. Self-love is survival, self-love is strength, self-love is freedom. Because without it, you will always be at the mercy of other people's opinions. Without it, you will always settle for less than you deserve. Without it, you will always chase after validation that was never meant to define you. But when a woman chooses self-love, she steps into her power. Self-love makes her unstoppable because it shifts the way she sees herself. Once she hated her reflection, now she embraces it. Once she believed the lies spoken over her, now she walks in truth. Once she let others write her worth, now she writes it for herself. She realizes she doesn't have to look like anyone else, talk like anyone else, live like anyone else to be powerful. She only needs to be herself, fully, apologetically, beautifully herself. People fear a woman who loves herself because you cannot guilt her into shrinking. You cannot shame her into silence. You cannot manipulate her with scraps of affection. She is no longer begging at empty tables. She is building her own. She is no longer waiting for permission. She is granting it to herself. She is no longer chasing love. She is radiating it from within. Self-love makes her unstoppable because it teaches her boundaries. A woman who loves herself will not stay where she is disrespected. She will not allow her heart to be played with like a toy. She will not carry the weight of relationships that drain her soul. She knows her worth. Because she knows her worth, she will not discount herself for anyone. That boundary, that courage, that self-respect, those are the signs of unstoppable strength. Self-love makes her unstoppable because it heals her. The love she once begged from others, she now gives to herself. The compassion she once extended to everyone but herself, she now pours inward. She forgives her past. She embraces her scars. She silences the inner critic that once kept her bound. And in doing so, she discovers a new level of freedom. Healing through self-love means she no longer carries yesterday's weight into tomorrow's opportunities. Self-love makes her unstoppable because it fuels her resilience. When storms come, she doesn't fall apart as she once did because she no longer questions her value. She knows she can survive heartbreak because she has her own love to lean on. She knows she can face rejection because she does not reject herself. She knows she can walk through loss because she has already gained the most important thing, a love that can never be taken away her own. Let me tell you something. When a woman loves herself, she dreams differently. She no longer asks, am I worthy of this dream? She declares, this dream is worthy of me. She no longer downplays her gifts to make others comfortable. She no longer hides her brilliance to avoid jealousy. She no longer waters herself down to be digestible. Instead, she shows up fully, boldly, and unapologetically. And when she does, the world has no choice but to take notice. Self-love makes her unstoppable because it transforms her relationships. She no longer clings to what is toxic because she knows she deserves peace. She no longer settles for crumbs because she knows she deserves the feast. She no longer sacrifices her joy for someone else's comfort because she has learned that her happiness matters. And here's the miracle: the more she loves herself, the healthier her relationships become. Because when she is full within, she no longer enters relationships out of desperation. She enters them from a place of overflow. Self-love makes her unstoppable because it silences the need for external validation. She no longer lives for applause. She no longer bends for approval. She no longer fears disapproval. She knows who she is, and that knowledge becomes her shield. Opinions may come and go, but her self-love keeps her grounded, steady, unshakable. And here's the secret: self-love does not make her perfect, but it makes her powerful. She still has scars, but she sees beauty in them. She still makes mistakes, but she forgives herself quickly. She still faces fears, but she walks through them with courage. Self-love does not remove challenges, equips her to face them head on. That is what makes her unstoppable. The woman who loves herself does not compete, she creates. She does not chase, she attracts. She does not crumble, she rises. Because everything she once sought from the outside, she has now built within. When the inside is whole, the outside cannot break her. So yes, self-love makes her unstoppable. It gives her the courage to say no when she needs to, the confidence to say yes when it's right, and the wisdom to walk away when it's time. It makes her unstoppable because it anchors her in truth, and truth cannot be destroyed. If you've ever doubted yourself, if you've ever felt unworthy, if you've ever settled because you didn't believe you deserved more, hear this: your power begins the moment you choose to love yourself. Not halfway, conditionally. Not, I'll love myself when I achieve this, lose this, gain that. No, love yourself now. Love yourself as you are. Love yourself through the process, because when you do, you become unstoppable. The world cannot break a woman who loves herself. She may bend, she will not snap. She may stumble, but she will not stay down. She may face storms, but she will not drown, because her love for herself is the anchor that holds her steady, the fire that keeps her burning, the strength that keeps her rising. So let the world watch. Let them whisper. Let them misunderstand. A woman who loves herself does not need the world's approval to shine. She shines because she has already given herself permission. She shines because she has already crowned herself worthy. She shines because her self-love makes her unstoppable.